So years ago, as a teenager and into my early 20s, I used to like to fight. Not only just fight, but I tried my hand at boxing and wrestling, and also played high impact sports. And it didn't matter what sport I played; it was definitely a contact sport. And during that time, I had taken some hits to my mouth, and I got hit by a hockey stick and been hit by a bat, hit by a baseball, and then the last thing that really did some damage to my mouth is I took an elbow and it cracked one of my teeth all the way across, and eventually a doctor just actually numbed me up and broke the tooth off and told me that I could get it fixed. I was in the army at the time when I get next to my next duty station. Long story short, I never got it fixed for a long, long time. And so, having the big round head that I have and having a big hole, a missing tooth in my mouth, I kind of look like a jack o' lantern. Met my wife, married my wife, why looking like a jack o' lantern. Hope I'm saying that word right. After being married for a couple years, we had good insurance at the time and finally went and I got a false tooth put in. They did a stem and built a tooth and did everything, and it totally, to me, it just changed my whole smile and everything. And I didn't realize how weird I looked without a tooth. Um, so this is about 20 years ago. Now, a couple weeks ago, going through my normal morning routine and got my mouthwash in and jump in the shower. And when I go to spit out the mouthwash, my tooth comes out, the false tooth. And I'm like, what in the world? And so immediately I called the dentist, and the earliest they could get me in was like the next Thursday. And so said, great. So go about my day. My wife's like, you gotta do something. That looks horrible. So I said, well, let's go to the dentist. We were looking at different things online, trying to find somewhere to go, what I could do for a temp tooth and these type of things. 2 days later, one of the districts called me and they said, "Hey man, we're in a jam. Could you come? We need you to preach a couple times. We need you to teach a couple times. We need you to do a kids service." And I said, "Man, that sounds great. Let's do it." And my wife said, "Oh my Lord, what are you going to do about your tooth?" It's like any normal human being. We went to Amazon and I purchased, I don't know if you can see this, it's called Temp Tooth. And Temp Tooth um, gives you these little beads, and you take these beads, 10 to 14, depending on how big or how small your tooth is, you put them in hot water, and after hot water, it'll cause them to come together. And you take it, you form it, you put it up in the area where the tooth is missing, and you mold yourself a false tooth. So I did that. Well, the thing is that the tooth is just as white as this, and my teeth are not as white as this. So I mold it, it gets too big, and I'm walking around work. I'm trying to test it out, and so I'm trying to talk, and it's giving me a lisp, and I'm talking with a lisp, and it's bright white, and it was like, "What's wrong with your teeth?" And I was like, "I broke my tooth," and whatever, and I take it out, and so what do I do? I Google it. How do I stain a permanent or a temp tooth? So lo and behold, coffee does it. So I about a week, and I got maybe 4 or 5 days, and I got to head to Pennsylvania and do this preaching engagement and teaching. And so I really didn't want to have a big hole in my mouth. So I finally get it nice shaped. I got it into a place where I'm not talking with a lisp. Um, in fact, I got it stained right. Everything. It looks at least decent, presentable if someone's unless they're right up on me. Um, so on the way, I'm testing it out. I'm chewing. I'm eating Takis of all things, and just testing my tooth out. Well, my wife said maybe you should get some Fix-It-In or something like that and put it in. So get to where I'm going. I go to the dollar store and I get this. It wasn't even Fix-It-In. It was something like Fix-It-In, but it was the Dollar Tree brand. And so I'm at the hotel and I take out my tooth and I put in the little Fixodent, and then I put it up in there. And I must have put too much of this fake Fixodent in there because it squirts out, and so my lip gets stuck to my gum. And so I'm like, what in the wool, man? So I tried to get the Fixodent, or the whatever it is, the fake Fixodent, try to get my lip unglued from my gum. And when I try to do that, my tongue gets stuck to my lip and to my. So I'm like, what in the world? So I'm trying to pull it apart and do all this and get it all taken care of, and finally get it worked. And so I get to the church that night, and it's time for me to get up and preach, and I'm worried. I mean, I feel like the tooth is in there, but I'm thinking, man, if I'm really start preaching and this thing goes flying out, I'm going to lose everybody. It's going to definitely kill the spirit and everything that's going on. So I try to tell them the same story that I'm telling you, and I said, it's I got the tooth, da da da, this and that, and they're, I'm telling them my lip got stuck and my gum and my tongue, and everyone's getting a good laugh. But honestly, I'm pre-warning them. It was good to get a laugh, an icebreaker, and things, but I'm worried. So I go to preaching, and it's staying in. Most of my words I'm pronouncing correctly. The words that I don't pronounce correctly has nothing to do with my tooth. Either or. Um, Probably about 2/3 through the service, I feel the tooth come down just a little bit, and then I feel it go back up, and it felt like it went back, and I almost choked for a moment because I'm like, and I'm like, oh my Lord. So I go up behind the platform, I just take the tooth out, stick it in my pocket, keep on preaching, keep hitting at it. And then we had altar call and all this. So everyone's, this was Friday night, and I'm there Saturday through or Friday through Sunday. So I still had more sessions to go. So I'm trying to put it in. I'm trying to talk to people. I'm trying to do this, and at one point, it's really getting. I'm like, man, this is kind of embarrassing. I probably shouldn't have said anything or anything like this. There were actually people that were coming up to me, and they were like, "Hey, look, I'm missing a tooth too," and they showed me the tooth or teeth that they were missing. So we begin to get a common bond. Um, but we go through everything. I preached Friday night, did 2 sessions on Saturday, did a kids service Sunday morning, and then preached Sunday morning. Still the whole thing with the tooth and everything. But at some point on Sunday, I lost the tooth. So somewhere in New Stanton, Pennsylvania, there's probably a kid running around saying, "Mom, what is this weird looking thing? There's some tooth." Um, so the next week, I got to travel again. So I do the same thing. I mold and shape and make another tooth. I get it stained and get it in my mouth and get it working. I test it out. I eat my food and everything like that. And I go to the next location, and the same story I'm telling you, I tell these people before the tooth falls out. And same thing happens. I'm preaching, the tooth comes down. I'm almost choke on it. I take it out. I put it back in, but somehow I lost it again. So there's another church that there's probably another kid, or maybe the cleaning lady is like, "Oh my Lord, what type of church is this that people are losing their teeth or falling out of their head?" Um, Also, another incident that happened to me. Again, it's hot water that actually will take the tooth and mold it and shape it. And I didn't read it fully. After you mold it, you run it under cold water, and it makes it nice and hard. Once it's nice and hard, it can stay up there. The thing is, you're not supposed to drink hot stuff because it will make the tooth soft. So I'm at work, got the fake tooth in, and I'm drinking my coffee, and slowly the tooth begins to creep down and slow down and begins to unmold. And the guy looked at me and said, "Hey, man, dude, you okay?" And of course, my false tooth was being reshaped and reformed, which was really weird. I guess it looked like I don't know, turning into a vampire or something. Um, but I was able to go back to my dentist. They're trying to schedule me out, and so they actually took cement and put the old tooth back up in there and temporarily, and we're going to see how long that holds so I can actually get in to see a dentist. But that's my story. If you lose a tooth, honestly, you can't get to the dentist right away, I highly recommend this. It's approved by Takis, but don't drink hot coffee with it. And if you take it out, make sure you know where it went. All right, that's my story. Love you guys. Have a good one. Bye.